What's good? It's your boy Fanon. I'm going to talk about an article this morning that came out where Manny Pacquiao, which is entitled Pacquiao, Crawford is scared, Top Rank prevented the fight. I'm going to give my thoughts on that. And I think for the most part, I think what's most important here in this is how you get to see the inner workings of Top Rank promotions and how Bob Arum thinks about fights that take place between two high-level fighters within his own within his own stable, and how that definitely would apply to a situation where you have somebody where he has to split the money with another promoter or with another outfit or with another network or whatever have you. But, you know, Manny Pacquiao is a funny dude, man. But, you know, anyway, before I do that, thank you very much for subscribing to the channel. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Also, thank you to everybody that supports the channel on Venmo, on Patreon, and the super chats and the live streams. And definitely thank you to people that watch the videos consistently and leave positive feedback or positive or respectful feedback. People that either, you know, agree and like the content, or people that want to have good discussions about the content without, you know, calling people names and all that type of nonsense, man. We don't really do too much of that or tolerate a lot of that on this channel. So, you know, not ever going to have 1 million subscribers because we just don't ride like that. So, but thank you to everybody that's a supporter of the channel or a critic of the channel that does so in a respectful manner where we're able to have an intelligent conversation with one another. Now, this is what the article says. Pacquiao, Crawford is scared. Top Rank prevented the fight. Manny Pacquiao has rejected any talk that he avoided a potential fight with Terence Crawford. The two boxers were stablemates under Top Rank. Manny Pacquiao's contract with Top Rank had expired last year, and the boxer is now promoting himself through MP Promotions. When the two boxers were under Top Rank, Bob Arum had interest in matching them. But right now, see, this is what I'm saying. Listen to what this says. I know this is the author saying this. Bob Arum had interest in matching them, but there was a big problem. There wasn't enough money in the fight, at least back then, to place it on pay-per-view with respect to a successful outcome from a revenue standpoint. Pacquiao wanted significant money for the fight. Crawford was looking for a career-high payday. Because of technical difficulties, Top Rank was keeping them apart in order to build the contest. According to Pacquiao, there was no issues on his end with facing Crawford when the two were being promoted by Top Rank. Said he's just afraid, and the promoters are preventing him from fighting me for a long time. And this is what Pacquiao told the Manila Times during a media launch of a foundation in Makati City. Pacquiao was responding to Crawford's comments that appear in Boxing Scene that belittled his title reign. And actually, it's not belittling his title reign. I think Crawford was belittling the WBA regular belt, which quite honestly, you know, probably deserves to be belittled. This is what Terence Crawford said, he is not a champion in my eyes. He doesn't have the super belt. That's the champion in my eyes. I look at the #1 champion in the division, Crawford said. I look at the WBC belt, silver, and the interim belts and all that. I look at the super and the actual champion of the division. Pacquiao is now looking forward to a showdown with former 4-division champion Adrien Broner. That's supposed to happen in January. Last week, Crawford beat the brakes off of Jose Benavidez and knocked him out in the 12th round. So here's my thing, man. Now, this is important, or makes me think about a couple things. And one is when people say that Deontay Wilder didn't want to fight Vladimir Klitschko. And they say that because of what Shelly Finkel said about not having a need to rush Deontay Wilder along. Now, obviously, one of the problems with that is that Shelly Finkel was Vladimir Klitschko's manager as well. So he could have very well been protecting Vladimir Klitschko from Wilder, or from the danger of Wilder. I'll put it that way. Give respect to Klitschko. But Deontay Wilder said that he wanted to fight. So who was right? Was it who is the reason that the fight didn't happen? Was it because of Finkel not wanting it, or was it because Deontay Wilder didn't want it? Is Finkel speaking for Wilder? So in this case, the thing that every time I heard about this fight with Pacquiao and Crawford, I heard Freddie Roach saying that they weren't looking for that fight. Freddie Roach was the trainer of Manny Pacquiao. Now, I never heard Manny Pacquiao say that, but I heard somebody in this camp say that. So that shows you, if you take Manny Pacquiao at his word, and I take Manny Pacquiao at his word, I don't see Manny Pacquiao being the type of guy that's not going to fight Terence Crawford. I think he's the exact type of guy that would fight Terence Crawford. And I believe that he might fight Terence Crawford right now. I mean, Manny Pacquiao to me is like a lot of these guys, boxers who don't have these big fights made. A lot of them, it's not. I don't believe it's that they don't want to fight the guy. Sometimes if they don't have a promoter and they don't make the fight, looking at you, Sean Porter, I think that they don't actually want the fight. If they have a promoter, if they're the type of guy that seems to me to be take on all kind of comers type of guy, but they have a promoter that's not willing to make the fight and has a history of not making fights because of what they just mentioned in this article, the financial reasons, right? So they're saying in this article that, and I believe this to be the case, and this is the case, I think, when we're talking about Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., and it's probably the case on both ends, that they're not sure enough that there's enough money in it right now without it being pay-per-view for both of these guys to make their pay, right? Because they're both going to want more money for each other than they would get for fighting somebody else. So if you get, after whatever the system is that gets Errol Spence Jr. all the way paid for his fight, if he gets 3.5 million, something like that, 3.6 million at the end of the day for his fights with Carlos Ocampo, and Terence Crawford gets $3.5 million for his bout with Jose Benavidez, both of these guys' camps, their managers or whoever, are going to want these guys to get at least twice that for facing somebody of the caliber of the other opponent, which makes the fight more expensive, which tells you why somebody like Bob Arum, who ain't trying to pay for fights out of their pocket, would want this fight on pay-per-view. Now, Manny Pacquiao and Manny Pacquiao and Terence Crawford specifically, there ain't no way in the world that I believe Terence Crawford would be afraid to fight Manny Pacquiao. I don't believe that at all. I don't think that Manny Pacquiao will be afraid to fight him, but I think we're in a situation again, like I said, where you have a promoter involved who probably wants to get paid as much money as the fighter gets paid. So, because they're not, Bob Arum's time, I'm quite sure, does not come cheaply. So, and Manny and Terence Crawford at the time, I think, when did he fight Postal? In 2016 or 2015? Yeah, I think it's July of 2016. Which was, right before he fought John Molina and Felix Diaz. This is around the time that, that he would have been able to, that he would have fought Manny Pacquiao when he came into the super lightweight, or the 140 pound division. He came in the 140 pound division in 15 with Delorme and Darijan. But when he fought Victor Postal, that's when he went on pay-per-view, and they did the 55,000 pay-per-view buys for Postal versus Crawford, which would more than likely have Bob Arum, Top Rank, HBO very hesitant to put Terence Crawford on pay-per-view a second time, even against Manny Pacquiao, because Manny Pacquiao also against lesser known opponents had less than stellar numbers on a few occasions. I think one time he did 400,000 pay-per-views or something like that. Right, or as Manny Pacquiao, it was like 400,000 with Manny Pacquiao and 400,000 with Manny Pacquiao, Tim Bradley, right around that time. So, they were thinking that maybe they might still do, because Tim Bradley and Terence Crawford's names, Tim Bradley was bigger than Terence Crawford at the time, or was more widely known than Terence Crawford at the time. So they probably thought that that it wasn't going to be worth paying for. And that's more than likely why that fight wouldn't have happened. Now, as far as who would win, I would definitely give the advantage to Terence Crawford, man. But, hey, man, I would have loved to have seen the fight, man. And I still would like to see the fight, even though, I would clearly lean really heavily towards Terence Crawford. But I don't agree, or there's no reason for me to believe that Terence Crawford would have been afraid of Manny Pacquiao. Also, ain't no reason for me to believe that Manny Pacquiao would have been scared of Terence Crawford. It would have been a great fight to see. But, that's what happens with when there's so many people's hands in the cookie jar, man, when you're trying to make these fights, that these things don't happen. And this is another thing where, and this is a case where you had two people that were under the same promotional banner where the fight couldn't happen. You know what I mean? So what that means for fights where people aren't being promoted by them, it makes it even tougher to see some of these fights, because these are two of the best fighters in boxing at that time when this fight could have been made, the 2015 time frame. Floyd Mayweather was still, Manny Pacquiao, was still a highly competitive fighter, man. So anyway, it is what it is. And with that, I'm out. Peace.